G'day, Steve here, Woodworking Masterclass and Room for Woodwork. But what we've decided to do, after a lot of deliberation, is combine the two programs together. I will still be posting Room for Woodwork videos exclusively on Room for Woodwork channel, but I'll also be posting the same video on Woodworking Masterclass. So if you like, that's Woodworking Masterclass Unplugged, the Inside Edition. And the other one down in the shed is Woodworking Masterclass, the Standard Edition. Anyway, we're off to a good start. Hurt me thumb, but it's all right. I used to tell my students, the great thing about hand tools is, if you do cut your finger, you generally stop before you get all the way through. Well, I proved that the other day. Didn't go all the way through, but went quite deeply and it hurt enough. But there you go, happens to the best of us. And what I'd like to do today is make a strop. I had cause to make one during the week and I thought what a wonderful opportunity to share a project with you. And this is all going to be done with hand tools apart from a battery drill. And if you really like, you could use a brace and bit or an egg beater type drill and it'll work out exactly the same. This is nice, but it's very hard to make this just with hand tools. It's possible, but a lot harder. I'll show you an easy way. And it's one that I've developed that I think I'm pretty happy with actually. It came as about one of my sons. When he shaves, he uses cutthroat razors and he wanted a razor strop. So instead of getting the flexible barber's one, I made him a wooden one and I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. So here we go, share it with you. What I've got is a bit of scrap timber. This is New Guinea rosewood and I'm going to make two strops out of this. One's going to be a 3-inch strop for bench tools and the other's going to be a 2-inch strop or 50mm strop for pocket knives or just carrying around if you're going out camping, hunting or fishing or whatever and you need a narrow strop. Now the other thing I'm doing, and those of you that are familiar, I'm allowed to do this woodworking inside the corner of this bedroom providing I stay within the rules, and the rules are no mess, no noise and no smells. Unpleasant ones, that is. So I'll show you a way you can actually rip this board into two separate widths. I want 3-inch or 75mm and 50mm and a 2-inch without even using a saw. And it's quiet and it's easy to clean up. So here we go. First things first, as you can see, these are rough edges. So I want to shoot those square. And for that, I'm just going to use a hand plane. Burn of water in the jaws. I'll start with a 5 1/4, then I'll do one with an H&T Gordon. Only because I can show you that any plane will work. Okay, that's cleaned up quite nicely. Let's see how square it is. Joy oh joy, it's square. Now this other side, there's no point in doing that yet because first of all I've got to cut a strip off here. Here's a little tip too. As you go, clean up, which is new to me. This is a whole new idea, but I've got a little cheap vacuum cleaner next to me here. Now these shavings, makes it a lot easier at the end of the day. And I said I'll show you how to rip this bit of timber down without using a saw. I've spoken in previous videos about plough planes and this particular one here, which is called a Stanley 45. A lot of the pieces I don't have in there at the moment because I don't require them. And what I've got is a 1/4 inch bit in the blade, in the plane. And I've set that, so it's just going to be a nice cut. And I've set the fence just over 50mm, or just over 2 inches. This timber is 20mm thick. So I'm going to set the depth on the plane at about 9 1/2. Okay, now that's just under 10mm. Now I'm going to put this in the tail vise. And this is why tail vices are so handy in a really tight area, because we can do so much utilising the space that we've got. Start at one end and plane. Now that we're halfway through, spin it over. And again, at this stage, if you wanted to, get the vacuum cleaner. And do the same again on the other side. Now if you have a look at that, there's not much holding that together. But the other great thing that these 45s come with is the number 8 blade. And that's actually a splitter blade. It goes in there like that and drops down, so you set it to the depth that you want it. In this case, I wanted to cut through this little piece here. Once you've got it set, then you just use it like a normal plane. And there you have it. Then with this piece, pop it back in the vise, plane that tongue off. And there you have it. One piece of timber, in fact 2 pieces of timber, 2 strops, and no sawing. Now bearing in mind, obviously, if you're in the workshop, yes, you use a bandsaw, it's a lot quicker. But the idea of this particular project with the in-house inside unplugged edition is to show you ways you can still do woodwork that may not be what you think of immediately, but it is possible. So I'll just plane the tongue off of this one, shoot it nice and straight, then we can get started on the 2 different strops. By the way too, if you're using wooden planes, first one I used was a Bailey Stanley metal plane, and I put candle grease on that. This is an H&T Gordon plane, which is a timber plane, and in most cases it's what I prefer using. I use linseed oil. Now that's just a bit of wadding that's been placed in a glass jar, and if you just rub it over, you can see the oil on there. That really aids with making it plane smoothly. There we go. If you can see that, that's square enough for me. Well, I think of it. If you've got an old woman's tooth, you can do exactly the same as what I did with the Stanley. Just route down halfway or just under halfway on both sides. If you've got a fence, make sure you got a fence on there. And then if you have to, you could saw that last bit, or you could just run a knife down there. It really doesn't matter, but you get the same result. And you can do that on basically any width of board. And there's no sawing, no dust in the atmosphere. And that's what you end up with, shavings. So I'll pick them up. I'll tell you a side benefit to working in this small space too, and you know, as I clean up as I go, it's actually transferred over into the workshop, and the main workshop is a lot tidier now. So that's a positive. Okay, now we're going to have 2 strops. And we'll make them the same length, which it really doesn't matter. And also this width of timber, it can be whatever width of timber you've got. I wouldn't go below, say, 5/8 or 16 mil, because then it can start to bend, depending on your timber. But if it's thicker, well, that's fine too.